overall everything, Roma deserved to win that game. We see them take one step forward in a positive right direction, but again, it's still questionable with as impactful as Marlon has been coming in there and what he brings to the team now and the dynamic that he changes with how they play, it's still got to be better. They've got to be more clinical. That is what's stopping them from being mentioned in the same breath as Inter, Napoli and Milan right now. I think they're lacking that real clinical element because they could have been 3-0 up in that first half, and it's a different conversation we're having about
They
Roma.
did enough. They did enough to get something. But they obviously they didn't.
They had 15 shots and 7 on target, which is a lot. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things as well, Milan, no European competition. It's been a tough week for Roma. Stuttgart, then today against Milan, they've got Panathinaikos as well in the Europa League, where they're looking pretty good. So would you say, Grell, that it's been a successful period, this period for Roma, and where they're at in all competitions so far?
Absolutely, for sure. And Gasperini's just got there, right? And he's had some issues too with players and with obviously the striking positions with Dybala. Is he going to be healthy? Is he not going to be healthy? So their objective also is top 4. And their objective is to go deep in the Europa League. So I'm sure they're very happy. And you look at, forget about the result from today, you look at the performance from today. If I'm the manager, if I'm Gasperini, I look at that performance, I say, I'm really happy with that performance. I'm really proud of my players after that performance. I thought it was a really fantastic 90 minutes.
They also went through this period without Ndika, who's their best defender, while still maintaining the best defensive record in all of Europe. So that's another positive that I think you could add to the list. I feel like Roma's gotten trapped in this race for the Scudetto, so it's kind of anchored us to putting them in that race. But the reality is, Roma have been working for years. They brought in so many different players, coaches, managers to get to the top 4 position, to get Champions League football. This happens to be one of the most competitive races I think we will see for that top 4 or top 5 spots. They're well ahead of schedule, well ahead of schedule. I love the way that they're playing. They're getting a couple new pieces in, so Gasperini could be happy, and it's still the beginning of this cycle under him. So in the grand scheme of things, in the broader perspective, it's a very, very good point for him.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we always said in the past, Gasperini, the attack, the school of attack and attack. It's been the opposite for Roma, and it seems to be carrying on. Grell, are you concerned with that moving forward, or do you think Daniel Malin really has been a silver lining over this transfer window?
I think over the last 2 games, and Malin's been involved in that as well, or maybe it's just Gasperini having more time with the team. I think that they win 2-0 in the Europa League, right?
Yeah.
So for me, they look more like they're transitioning towards a Gasperini team. It looks more fluid. And that's why I was saying there was a bromance between the front 3, because it looks like they're creating good combinations at the top of the box. There's an understanding. There's a cohesiveness with the way they play. The defensive side is what Ranieri left over, in my opinion. That solidity, it's a lot of the same players that understand how to shift and move together. Marco mentions individually, they may be not the best, but as a unit, they're very good and they're very organized. So that's been very good as well. I also noticed that the wing-backs, we talked about this before the game, Celik and Wesley, I thought they were very good on the night of knowing when to go forward and how far to go forward. They're aggressive. They showed off big engines in the game. So if I'm Gasperini or I'm a Roma fan, I'm looking at the team. I'm very excited about them moving forward into the next part of the schedule. Now you flip over to Milan, and I get it. They're in a Scudetto race. They play Cortomuso. It's fine. We all know what we watched. It's not good, right? When I say it's not sustainable, I'm not saying it's not sustainable to win something this year or to get into the top 4 this year. But for AC Milan, if you're a fan of AC Milan and you understand the history of the club, it's not a sustainable model for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You can't. There is no world where a team like AC Milan can stay in counterattack, can stay in their own end, their own box, and just suffer and suffer and suffer and pray for a set piece on the other end. That's what teams in the mid-table of Italy do.
But Mike, we knew what we were going to get with Allegri. This is what you got Allegri. That's a style.
If this is the Band-Aid, if this is to get you in the top 4, if this is the thing no problem. You want to win this way, you want to play this way. That's totally fine. That's fine. I mean, Napoli, to some respects, did that last season, where it was not pretty to watch, but they got the job done. But you're talking about sustainability. You're talking about a mode to play. It also doesn't. It's not just 2 styles. It's not Barcelona here and Cortomuso here. You can also play. For 90 minutes, they didn't put together any football play. So I'm not saying you can't play in counterattack, you can't play Cortomuso, you can. But there has to be periods of the game where you realize, hey, this is AC Milan. Let's keep the ball, let's play, let's make some moments in the game. You can't play 90 minutes in counterattack. If you're AC Milan, maybe if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're Lecce, maybe if you're Udinese, Torino, you want to play in defense the whole time, Cortomuso, run away with one set piece.
But is that
robbed the game.
Change with Max Allegri? So if they brought him in, is that the
I'm not the president of the club, but I'll tell you, it's not a sustainable model for a club like AC Milan with the history that it has and what the expectations that it has.
But I'm just not surprised. When you get Allegri, and many people wanted Allegri, that is what you get. That's the style of football that he's always played when he's been at Juventus, when he was at Milan, and when he came back to this team. They looked that they were conceding too many goals, and they said, this is our solution for the moment. His football is extremely simple. He believes that players win matches. It's not the style of football. And I will say that maybe it's the last few games that they have looked poor, the Como game. There's been moments where they've played really good football, and it has been fluid, and they have had those patterns of play. It's in the last couple games, they've dealt with injuries. Lau and Pulisic have not been at their best throughout the entire year. So I don't want to only just put it on these moments. My thing is just, I'm not surprised. When Allegri came there, this is what I expect from his teams. That's it, period. And he's getting the results. So I do think this is probably just a situation. Let's get back into the Champions League football and see where it goes from there.
Do you feel like that is a realistic outlook, Nigel? You still have got them in the title race.
I mean, points-wise, they're still in the title race. It's still a good point that keeps them involved and active in chasing Inter right now. I think for me, there's no excuse for them. They've got no European competition. They should be, every game, week in, week out, we should be complimenting Milan on how high energy they are, how high tempo they are, pressing teams, and just can finish in 90 minutes looking like a strong side. With Roma and what they did today and the performance they put in, not to forget, Roma just played in Europe this week. Roma definitely deserve a lot more flowers than Milan, because for me, Milan should have no excuse that every week we watch them play, we should be complimenting them in dominating football.
I want to ask you two quickly a question. You're the manager of the team. You're Allegri today, right? Well, forget you're Allegri. You're your own manager. You manage that side with that performance. In the changing room after the game, what do you say to your team? Do you say to them, hey guys, well done today. We somehow found a way to get a point? Or do you say, that's not good enough? That 90 minutes 100%. There is not good enough. What do you say?
That's the direction I will go.
There's no manager in the world that's going, oh, well done today, boys. I mean, unless you're seeing a totally different game than I'm seeing.
No, I'm on that. If it's just a one-off performance in a row of games where you've been fantastic for 7 or 8 games, you can say, you know what, as a manager, you can accept bad day at the office, this one-off, because I've seen the standard for the 5-6 weeks where we've been absolutely amazing. But for me today, that is not good enough. That has
Against
to be
Como, the same.
That has to be a reality check to the players, especially facing the Roma side that haven't done well against these top 6 teams. That is not good enough. You have to let these players know now, like, the standards are starting to drop. Because like Grella said, I agree. I was cursing them in the back there, because for me, it just wasn't good enough. The ball was going up. They couldn't stick. They looked like they couldn't pass the ball.
And also, you can defend. But when you have the football, give away, cheap giveaway, cheap giveaway, cheap giveaway, not make it to 5 yards, win a ball, boom, give it away again. Like, that's got nothing to do with Cortomuso. That just got to do with it's not a good enough performance. You have to connect plays. You have to do the basics right. You have to create more than a corner kick chance in 90-minute games.
So are they underperforming for the squad that Allegri has?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that there's hold on, one second.
That was poor.
But I'm not saying, I'm saying the whole season. Give me a sec. Throughout a season, you will have dips, right? This is a moment where I do see a dip. In the beginning of the season, when they've beaten Inter, when they've beaten Napoli, do you remember the way that they played in those games? Do you remember? They played great. They played well above the standard. It's prisoner of the moment to say that they're underperforming throughout the entire season. They're in second place. They're 5 points away from Inter. Let's see how they react to this. Let's see how they bounce back from this moment. Personally, I think they will bounce back. I think that we will see a team that continues to grow from here on out. I think it's a stretch of some poor games where we haven't seen the type of football that I agree with you that should be up to the standard of Milan.
If you want to focus on the element of what we've just seen today, right, I would say to a certain degree you can be right to say they're underperforming. Again, we talk about not playing in Europe, what Roma just did, and you look at the bench today of who they could call off the bench to change and have an impact in this game with a Roma side that just played in Europe. That, for me, is a bit of an underperformance. You've got Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic. They've got an abundance of talent on the bench. You've got Fulkrug, you just spent money on. You've got Loftus-Cheek, you've got Pulisic. You've got Fofana, who's got experience in there. Stupiak. They've got enough talent off the bench.
Shadi, they've spent money on.
Look at Roma's side. Roma's got some young players in there now, coming from the youth team, that they have to look to bring onto a game to have an impact. So for me, I'm looking at that. I could comfortably say you're slightly underperforming. It's not really good enough with what you're facing and what the expectancy that we have.
It makes me think about when Milan won the Scudetto, because that year as well, you could maybe say they weren't the best team individually, but they still collectively came together.
But they played on the opposite side of the pitch.
And would you say that team is better than this team, Grella?
I think
With
it was.
Giroud, obviously Leao was still a big part of it.
Yeah, Giroud's an important piece. I think the team had more balance in the way that they wanted to play. Like, they had more balance in different positions, for sure. Leao became the MVP of that season. At the end of the season, he really came alive. I think he was playing in his more natural position, which is on the left, where he has his back to the field, where he can see everything in front of him. When he's in the middle of the field, you've got to know what's around you. That's not his bread and butter. That's not his best attribute. And it was a team with Tomori that was a monster in the back, that they played so high up the field. They would press teams. They played an athletic brand of football. That, to me, was exciting. Was exciting to see Milan's side go and press the football, go and create chances, go and ask questions, give the ball to Leao, let him go 1v1. This, to me, the Milan that's too far back and too content with saying, okay, well, we just play this way. I think you can play that way. I've got no problem with Allegri playing that way. But then you don't need to play Barcelona style. You don't need to be tiki-taka.
Yeah.
But in 90 minutes, you have to have phases of the game where you actually take control of the game as well, where you actually, put Roma under a little bit of pressure.
Did you see that with Juventus under Allegri? Because it
was the same.
It feels similar, doesn't it?
It's the
to
same.
What we're getting.
I'll tell you so, just people pay attention. Be a little bit worried for Milan now, because people start to work it out now. We talk about Luka Modric and the importance he has to that team. Now they're starting to close him down a lot more and letting him stop having the influence he does to dictate the play for them. And now it seems like they're struggling to work other things around that now, because he's not dictating the play like he used to, because teams have worked out to say, we need to stop him having an influence. Then let's see what they do. And they're struggling to get by that.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking at the calendar for Milan. March 8th is when they'll play Inter.
Oh, that's the game.
That feels like it, doesn't it?
And they got up for the last match, right? Inter, the narrative is around, they're first place, okay, but they have not been able to win any of these big games, especially the Derby della Madonnina means more than anything. So that'll be the one. And I think by March, we'll have an even a clearer picture of what this Milan should look like. And I think it's going to be a lot better than the one that we've seen in the past weeks.
Mm-hmm. So this is where we're at after 22 match days in Serie A. Inter, we mentioned they're at the top of the table. They were 2-0 down to Pisa on Friday. They came back to win 6-2 in the end. It's as you were for the others. Milan in second place with 47 points. Roma in third, just behind them. And they'll share points with Napoli, who obviously lost against Juventus. And Juventus overtake Como. Grella, you were really interested in Roma's attack today, and their average position really does show you how far forward they went today against Milan.
Yeah, they were brave, and they had the ball, and they asked questions, and they played on the front foot, and they were in possession, and they blazed the ball across the box a lot. And this tells you everything you need to know of where the match was played, and partly because they were very good at home, and like I said, they were brave, but partly because Milan invites them in. Like we talked about before the game, where is Milan's first line of pressure going to happen? And this is sort of where it happened, almost basically at the half. I would actually say it was probably a little bit deeper than that, but this was the average position of Milan all game. Look how, by the way, how compact it is. It's not open and it's not stretched. It's compact and it's on top of each other. I mean, there's essentially two sets of players that were standing on top of each other
Yes, the two that you need
in the games.
And where's your outlet when you're that tight and that deep there? Which is the point. Like, how are you going to win football matches or cause problems when you're that tight and compact? And we did the Grella vision at the start of the game, and Grella showed it 100% right, how Milan play with the box and how deep they are, trying to make it difficult. Great. You can be organised in that sense, but you've got to throw a jab. You've got to throw a counter-punch. And today there was no jab, no counter-punch. You've got your two strikers who you expect to get forward and make things happen, and they're standing next to each other holding hands.
What did you say it was at halftime, Grella? The UFC, a rematch of last night's
The Paddy
UFC
Pimblett. If you watch
fight?
that, well, obviously CBS Paramount Plus has the UFC. I stayed up last night and watched a fight, and Genty beat Paddy Pimblett pretty bad last night. So I felt like it was like that in the first 45 minutes. I will say though, the other thing, we're going back to the graphic real quick. Who is Milan's best striker partnership? Who is it?
Leao Pulisic.
Leao
Is it?
I mean,
all right. Well, this tells you everything you need to know. We don't know.
Have we seen everybody available at full fitness with the new addition?
Okay, if everyone's fully fit, who is the? So you're telling me if it's a Leao Pulisic, so then you have two guys that are not strikers. If it's Fulkrug with Leao, that means Pulisic's on the bench. He's probably been your best player over the last couple of years. If it's Pulisic, Fulkrug, you have Leao not involved, who's got the highest ceiling probably in Serie A. That's another big question mark.
That's a good point, Grella. Mm-hmm. They really do have to work that out, because there have been changes, and then I've seen the impact with Fulkrug and Pulisic when Fulkrug is actually a target man, but again, it's a different game dynamic. Well, that's when the team is pinned in and Milan have a bit more possession, a bit more confidence in it. In a game like this with the aggression that Roma showed, really and truly, I expected more from Leao and Nkunku. For me, I just don't know what he's doing half the time on the pitch. He's not having any kind of impact. His hold-up play is not good enough. I'll probably say that goes a lot for a lot of the strikers we see in the modern game. Just to do the basic bread and butter of hold the ball up, be strong, set it and go again. They're all struggling to do that. We saw Marlon do it once or twice today for Roma, which worked out well. But for a lot of other strikers, they need to get back to basics.
And I don't see Allegri changing because he's not going to get rid of the three. He won't do it because you see how compact
100%.
this team is. The three-man defense is what I mean because he wants those wing-backs to defend and become defenders. He's not going to change the three in the midfield because we would all argue and say their midfield is the best part of the team. So he's almost finding this ability to sacrifice. And I guess he'll try to adapt depending on who the opponent is if you do want to allow Pulisic. But it becomes an impossible situation for the players because you can't leave off Leao and Pulisic. And they both don't really want to play in that position. We had Leao on set. Do you remember a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
The game against Napoli. And he told us on set he doesn't like, this was under Pioli, but he said he doesn't like to play centrally. He doesn't like to play as a striker. Now, if things change, okay, that's fine. But I think you're definitely not getting the best out of a player because he wants to be wide where he can isolate his man and run into space.
Yeah, it's like, this is what we have, right? So, okay, if Leao and Pulisic are your best players, and maybe Modric, right, and Rabiot, what do I do to put those guys in the best situation to succeed? And right now, Leao and Pulisic are in positions that they're fine. They get away with it because they're so talented and because they're such good players, but it's not their best position. And Allegri tried this not too long ago with, at the time, Juventus' best player was Chiesa. At the time, you could make that argument. And Allegri wanted to play this way. He was stubborn to play this exact formation. And there was not really a spot for Chiesa, who was an out-and-out winger. He put him in a central spot where Leao and Pulisic are now. He couldn't really find his way, didn't like playing centrally. I mean, he's still effective because he's a good player, but not as effective. Then they even tried him as a wing-back. It was a bit of a disaster back there. He was 70, 80 yards away from the opponent's goal. So it's just another question
What would you do, Grell?
I would play whatever formation, whatever way would suit my best players.
So what would that be with Milan then?
I don't know. I got to look at it.
It's hard to ask. I mean, everyone, the Milan fans want 4-3-3.
I would imagine it's Leao, Pulisic, Füllkrug in the middle.
And you think that's the best?
Maybe
you just lose the balance.
4-2-3-1 is the easiest formation to play.
Yeah.
So you have the four at the back, but the problem is he's scared because he doesn't believe he has two center backs that can play back there
and
together.
Is that true? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think they struggle a bit with De Winter. We saw Højlund torch him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Gabbia, you never know. And then Tomori as well, you never know. So I think that's why he feels safe putting all three of them. When you put two, you lose an element big time.